and welcome to this week's edition of Hawk Talk. I'm Susanna Moberg.
And I'm Seth Morkerke.
And we have a returning guest on the show today, so why don't you introduce yourself, say what you do here at DSU.
Yes, my name is Riley Helmick. I'm a senior. I'm an exercise science major, and I'm on the women's basketball team.
Yeah, and it's your second year here at DSU, so can you explain to us a little bit how things have been different this year, both in school, in basketball, you also play on the golf team,
yes.
So just how's it different in your second year?
This year's just different just because I know a lot more people. Last year I was coming in, I'm from Oregon, and so it was a big jump from Oregon to North Dakota, and I didn't know a single person here. And now that I've been on the team for 2 years, and same on the golf team, I have a lot more friends, and I know a lot more people in the community, so it's a lot better.
Yeah, you know, looking at the basketball team itself, it's kind of a younger team, more of a new team, I guess. You have some juniors who are new and quite a few freshmen. So how has that presented an opportunity for you to become more of a leader and step into that role?
Yeah, it's been great. The freshmen are doing a great job this year. When they need help, they come to us seniors and upperclassmen for it, but they've really grown into big shoes this year, and they are doing a great job. They don't play like freshmen anymore. They've been relied on a lot this year, but it's made them better, and it's helped our team for it too.
Yeah, we had Callie on earlier in the season. We had Ashley as well. It seems like every weekend, I mean, you had a great weekend this past weekend. You led the team in scoring. Ashley has done that before. Callie has also done that. It seems like the team is pretty well spread out and knows how to score. So what does that say about the strength of your team?
You never know who's going to go off that night, and I think that helps us out a lot. That other teams plan to guard one person, shut them down, and then they do their job, but then somebody else steps up, and it just helps it so everybody's more balanced, and we're a lot better as a team for it. So
yeah. This past weekend, you were at home playing, and I have to say it was like a really intense game to watch. Like I honestly kind of lost my voice a little bit when I left the gym, but you won that game on kind of a buzzer beater, which you played for 0.4 seconds after the shot. But anyways, can you talk a little bit about how that felt?
It felt, I can't even put it into words. Yeah. I still feel like I'm riding a high right now from it. And it was just crazy how it all worked out. The goal is to get Ashley the ball, and that's what we did. And everybody executed when we went back and watched it on film. It didn't look exactly how we planned it out, but it worked, so we're happy with it.
Yeah, well, sitting in the conference, you guys are 3-4 now. This is officially the turning point of the season. You're in 5th place. So where do you go from here to keep on winning and to win some of those games that we've lost and to just beat the teams that we've already beat?
It makes it both easier and harder now that we've played each team, so we know their strengths and weaknesses, but they also know ours. And so we're just looking to do better than we did the first time we played them, whether that's getting a win or just playing better and stopping their big players. But we're just trying to win out at home and do as well as we can on the road and pick up every W we can. So.
Yeah, looking kind of at the teams who are ahead of you in the conference, you've beat 2 of those teams who are ahead, and you've played well with the other 2 teams. And so, looking at the rest of the season, what's it going to take to beat those hard teams, beat that Valley team, beat Bellevue, you know, when you go and play them at their home course?
It's going to take everybody. We all have to buy in, and I think that's really what we did differently this weekend is we all decided we were going to buy into what we were doing that game, and every team we have a different game plan. For certain teams we have to be better in transition, and other teams we have to box out better. And I think everybody buying in and everybody getting with the process, it makes it a lot easier and it makes it better as a team. So.
Yeah. And you're heading on the road these next 2 weekends. We talked Valley City, Mayville, and they aren't too far away, but it's still, you know, you're on the road. So how do you prepare for those road trips?
It just takes a different level of focus. It's been so nice having the last 2 weekends at home, but back on the road, it takes a lot of focus and just making sure we're buying into which team we're playing. And Mayville and Valley are both 2 completely different teams, and just making sure we're focused each night, that's really what's going to get us there.
Yeah. As Seth says, Scott Jim has really, I can't get over this, has really been rocking
Just an attitude
this season. But anyways, I mean, I do agree, like there definitely has been, you know, lots of good times, lots of loud noises, and probably lots of fun to play. I wouldn't know, I don't play basketball, but probably lots of fun to play there. But you guys come back to Scott Jim in February, and you end your season there. So as you reflect kind of on these last years you've played basketball here, what has it been like to play in Scott Gym in that environment?
It's been great. I think last year we were a brand new team and we didn't have a single returner, and I think that made it hard to get the community involved just because we didn't have those connections. And this year we're a lot closer with the community, and I think that's what's been a big deal in getting everybody to the games. And it's been so much fun to play in front of a big crowd this year, and we're excited to finish out at home strong.
Well, speaking of community, you know, we have the Dickinson community, we have the DSU community itself, and all those things kind of intertwine, especially with athletics and the on-campus events. So looking back at your past 2 years, what does DSU mean to you?
It means it's just a family. I think everybody here has that family feel, and walking to class, you know everybody you see and you always stop and say hi, and just that community feel and that family feel, I think that's the greatest thing about DSU.
Yeah. Well, Riley, thank you for coming on. Good luck this weekend. We're looking forward to the rest of the season and seeing how the conference turns out.
Thank you.
And we'll be back right after this talking with another athlete. Well, welcome back to Hawk Talk. We have an athlete who is probably from the greatest state in the union, Wyoming, of course, as I always say, and has also spent some time in the greatest city in Wyoming. So talk about, you know, introduce yourself, where you're from, and then talk about your journey from high school to DSU.
Okay, my name is Kendrick Jackson. I'm from Wheatland, Wyoming. I went to a JC in Gillette, so I went to Gillette College. Then I transferred here, so I'm a junior. I grew up in Wyoming for about until my freshman year of high school, and then I moved to Sacramento, California for 2 years. Then I moved back to finish my junior and senior year in Wheatland.
Yeah.
So.
I told you, it's always the best.
All right, whatever you say. Basically, let's look at the team this season. Everyone is new. So can you talk a little bit about how, you know, is it hard for you to adjust? Was it hard for them to adjust? Just talk about that environment between you guys.
I mean, I think in the beginning it was definitely hard because everybody didn't know each other, and like the only returner was Austin Payne. So I think we had to like come together and figure each other out. And then, as you can see, like in the beginning, we kind of struggled, but I think we're progressing as the year goes on.
Yeah.
And we're finding our stride. So.
Looking at some of these games, you know, the first half of the season, you could kind of tell you guys were figuring out who was playing, you know, who was going to be the guy who took shots, how you guys could commingle. But was there a point when that kind of clicked? Because I know now you guys really know your roles, and it seems like you guys are just a well-oiled machine.
Well, I think we have our on and off nights. So like our first home game, our first conference game was against Presentation, which they're ranked first in the conference, and we lost to them on a buzzer beater. But then the second conference game, we came back, beat Bellevue, who's tied with them for first, beat them on a buzzer beater. So I think we just got to keep progressing and keep finding it. Yeah, keep going.
Similar to the girls, you guys are 3-4 in the conference, and you played some tough games, played some really hard games. But you know, looking at the rest of the season, or looking back at the season, I should say, what do you think went well, and where are some areas you guys can improve?
Well, I think our communication is probably one of our biggest concerns right now. Then our defense, but I think we're doing a good job in practice and we're getting better every day. So.
Yeah. Well, last week you were the North Star Athletic Player of the Week. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
We're happy to see a Blue Hawk getting that. We're happy to see you getting that. What does that mean? What does that award mean for you?
I mean, I think it's just it just shows like the dedication and work that we put in practice, and my teammates, because I couldn't get it without them. So I appreciate that, and then my coach is putting me in the position that I am. So.
Yeah. So looking at the first half of the season and the last half of the season, Seth was kind of explaining this to me, but it's almost like you guys flip and you play teams again back to back a little bit. So in your opinion, and Seth told me a little bit about his opinion, but in your opinion, is this a good thing for the last half of your season?
I mean, I think it's interesting. So, I mean, we lost to Mava, and then we lost to Valley. So we get to come back right away in the next week and play them again and redeem ourselves. So I think that's important.
Yeah. Well, looking at this last half of the season, you mentioned you guys lost a presentation on a buzzer beater, beat Bellevue on a buzzer beater. So you guys are basically in the mix. Even if you guys are 3-4, you're basically in the mix. So what is it going to take to finish the rest of the season and go into that conference tournament, you know, playing your best basketball?
Well, our coach always says, like, we really have the most talent in the conference. We just have to put it together. Yeah. I think we saw that in some games, but then we did it in other games. So I think if we just come together as a team, communicate and work together, then I think we can go at least 5-2. So that's our goal. We want to get a top 4 seed so we can have a home game.
Let's go.
Going into the conference tournament.
Yeah, we talked a little bit with Riley about Scott Gym and just the environment that gym creates. But for you, what has it been like for you to play in Scott Gym?
I mean, I think it's pretty cool that the community and the people come out and support us. So, you know, I'm always happy to see a bunch of people at the game. You know, and it gets my adrenaline going. So, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, you know, this team, I've said it before, I pretty much say it every time I watch you guys. This is a really fun team to watch. Like, you guys are athletic, probably the most athletic team I've seen, and really high basketball IQ. I've seen you, like, steal the ball from guys who aren't even looking multiple times. I'm like, I don't know if I've ever seen that happen very much. But, you know, looking at the team, where does that come from? And like, what are you guys going to do for the rest of the season, clicking with each other in order to get this finish?
I think it comes it starts off like off the court because everybody on the team is pretty close. We always hang out like on the weekend when we have free time. Yeah, so I think that leads into practice, and then obviously the game. So I think if we can keep growing as a team, then we'll be fine.
Yeah. And as you think about your journey from the quote-unquote greatest state here to DSU, what has your time at DSU meant to you? I
mean, just like Gillette, it's like a small community, so everybody's supportive, and like Riley said, it's like a family, so you feel welcome. Yeah. So I've appreciated my time here.
Well, we're happy you're here. We want to say good luck for the rest of the season. We'll be at all those home games. Cheering you guys on.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And we'll be back after this talking with a special guest of ours.
Life is full of many successes, achievements, stages. Every year we grow, things change, and pretty soon we realize we want and need to do more. When you're ready for that next step, Dickinson State University will get you there. Find out how at dsublue.com.
Well, welcome back to Hawk Talk. Like I said, we have a special guest on the show, so go ahead and introduce yourself and what you're doing here in the Dickinson community.
My name is Arlen Hofflin. I'm a retired football track coach and at one time chair of the physical education department at Dickinson State University.
Yeah, you were a coach of mine for a couple of years, and probably the 2 greatest years of my DSU career, I'll say that.
And possibly one of the reasons I retired a little earlier than I.
Stop it. Well, Coach, you know, you played here too, so just remind us of your career as a Blue, well, I guess you were a Savage, but as a Blue Hawk too, and then into your coaching career.
Well, I came as a player in 1972. We were Savages at that time for my first 2 years. We won the conference championship in 1975, and that was the first time it had been done in quite some time. So we always, my group of guys always take credit for starting the tradition with right, wrong, or indifferent, but we always take credit for starting the success at Dickinson State.
Yeah. And January 19th marked the 45th anniversary of that switch from Savages to Blue Hawk, and you were here during that switch. So can you tell us a little bit about what that transition was like?
Well, I think anytime you go through a name change with a mascot, you know, there's going to be both sides of the story. It needed to be changed. I mean, it was a period in time, and I don't think anybody, when you look back, thinks that it didn't need to be changed. I will say this, in keeping with some of the traditions, with the Native American traditions, that we tried to show respect, but I also get it. It was, you know, it's their culture, not ours, and a name change needed to take place. It went relatively smooth, and I think, you know, you look back from the university's point of view, they should be proud of being so reactive much earlier than a lot of other places maybe did.
Right. Yeah, well, on the football side, looking back, like you said, you guys started that conference championship era, and there's been some very successful football teams, individual teams, and eras that have gone through this, DSU. So how does that success just continue on and on?
Well, I think, your two previous guests talked about family. I've always felt that way, even when I was coaching, that it was a large family, and people actually care about one another, their teammates, and it's the same people 45 years down the road that we still have Christmas cards and check on how everybody's grandkids are doing and those types of things. And hopefully that'll never change about Dickinson State, and hopefully you guys will be doing that at some point in time too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Success is a huge part of the culture here at Dickinson State, and we are successful. A lot of our programs are successful in part because of the Booster Club and coaches and players that keep giving back. So how important, in your opinion, is the continued involvement of those coaches and players even after they leave DSU?
Oh, it's huge. Keeping our graduates involved with the community, or with the university and the community for that matter, is huge. That's our lifeblood. And if you think about, you guys are too young to feel it yet, but at some point when you start thinking about really how big of an impact that the university had in your lives, and just being able to give back a little bit and continuously throughout the rest of your careers is huge for the entire university.
Yeah. I was looking at some of the old yearbooks that they used to create, the Prairie Smoke, and you look through those things and you see that there was a lot of activities going on campus, and students were really involved with a lot of things, whether it was homecoming or things going on in the spring. There was just a lot of activities. Has that changed, do you think, or in your opinion, do you think there's still a lot of student activity, it's just in a different way?
Well, it has changed. There were probably a lot more student groups when I look back and think about all the various, academic and the D Club and things like that. I think students are involved in activities yet on campus. Doesn't seem to me, in a different way, but it doesn't seem to me that it's quite as campus-centered as it maybe once was, and I think that's just, times changed. That was 45 years ago. I mean, you guys do things differently than we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as you look from your role as a student, as a player, as a coach, what does being a Blue Hawk mean?
Well, to be perfectly honest, it's nice to go someplace and visit with people I coached with and against, and remind them that, yeah, that was the year we beat you, or that was the year we beat you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pride, because I guess the biggest thing that it means to me is I know when our students graduate, they'll go out into the community and be good people and good students, and we've always tried to attract. I mean, everybody does, but some people talk the game, and some people talk it, some people walk it, and I've always felt like Dickinson State has walked the walk. We try to get quality people here and send them out into our community and in the other communities, and time and again, that was probably one of my biggest, as far as pride, is you go out and you recruiting or whatever, just out in various states, and people say, no, well, so-and-so's at Dickinson State. He or she has been a real asset to our community, and that's important.
Yeah. It's always great to see that as an alum now, I guess. I just graduated, so it's nice to hear that and to know coaches are looking for good people to come to school. Mm-hmm. Looking back on the name change, the playing, being a student, the coaching, and the teaching, do you have a best memory from your time here?
Oh, I guess at one time Minot State was probably our biggest rival. And then later on, the other school that has an M in it was another rival. Yeah, and we beat them in a game my senior year, I think it was, we were down like 21, and their quarterback went on and played a number of years in the pros, and we weren't supposed to win, and we did, and I still thoroughly enjoy that one.
Yes.
It's a good memory.
Yeah, that's a good one. We talked a little bit about this earlier, but how does the community support from Dickinson influence DSU?
Well, the community support is so important, but you can't even. I guess I never even think of Dickinson and Dickinson State as a separate entity. Mm-hmm. It's one big group, and that's the way it should be, at least in my opinion. And it's huge. I mean, You can't separate it in my mind. The community sport is the same as the university sport. It's one and the same.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you, well, this past year we celebrated our centennial year as a university, and so we had one question that we asked everyone who came on Hawk Talk, and you are no exception. We'll ask you as well. But from your views, as you know, you've been here through that huge transition. You've done so many different things at the university. So using all of that experience, and if you can combine it into one answer, what does DSU mean to you?
Well, it was a place that gave me an opportunity and a challenge. And you know, a challenge it's either an obstacle or it's an opportunity. And it gave you a way of looking at things to look at that and say, hey, that's an opportunity. That's not an obstacle. So I guess takeaway is that would be the thing that I've always appreciated, the fact that I think I was given a chance to do some things that a lot of other people wouldn't have given me as an individual in the institution, and I've always appreciated that, and I've always tried to, I guess, pay that forward.
Well, Coach, it's been great having you on. I always love having a conversation. I always love hearing your wisdom, whether it comes in parables or comes straight up. It's always enjoyable. We'll be back after this, recapping what's been going on at DSU Athletics and looking forward to the next week. Welcome back to Hawk Talk. We're just going to do a quick little bit to recap what happened this weekend and look forward to the next. Looking first at men's basketball, men's and women's basketball. I guess they played Valley on Friday night and then Mayville on Saturday. Both teams lost to Valley on Friday. The men's basketball team, I guess both teams, they played well. They fought well. Just kind of the women's team kind of just, it slipped away from them there at the end, and the men's team, it came down to the wire almost, but the last minute was kind of just Valley was scoring, and we weren't able to foul enough and to get the ball back, and so that's how that happened. Looking at Mayville though, the men's team, Mayville, I think men's and women's are both receiving votes nationally, and so that tells you that we're playing some good teams here in the North Star. The men's team, they ended up losing as well. But they're going to play them this weekend, and the women's team pulled it out. They got that buzzer.
Oh my
beater,
gosh,
like
and it was crazy.
And
oh my gosh, you should have heard. It was so loud in there when it happened. Like no one could really believe that it happened. But gosh, it was so cool to be there. It's like, oh my gosh, You know what? If I had to pick one adjective to describe Scott Jim in that moment, I would say rocking.
I knew you were gonna make fun of me for saying that. But anyways, basketball, they are heading to Mayville on Friday night. Like we said, kind of flip-flop of the season, which is really, really weird in my opinion. But they're
and I hadn't realized that until you pointed it out to me how it works. But
I didn't.
I don't know if that's like a typical thing to do, but it does seem really odd to me. Like you play two teams and then you play them again.
Yeah, you just expand your schedule. So we'll be seeing presentation at the very end of the season, and that will
started
probably be
with
the
and
conference
with bookmark our season with
championship
presentation.
right there for us. So we're looking forward to that.
This weekend, this coming weekend, I should say, track will be heading down to Black Hills State again, and we know they consistently do well down there. And so I'm expecting when we get our results back that we will hear lots of good things for both men and women, which won't be surprising for us, but it will still be exciting as we celebrate those little victories with them. But Black Hills this weekend. Yeah,
and looking at wrestling, that was the only other sport that was active. They went down to the Missouri Valley tournament, I think, or something like that. Tanner Stone just continues to impress us. He was I believe he was the only one who made it to the second day of that tournament. I think we had quite a few younger guys wrestling in that tournament, and so he took fourth in the tournament at 157, the weight class, and it's just cool to see these young, he's only a sophomore, and he's just
cool to see these young guys coming up, seeing success.
Yeah, and they're heading to Montana State University Northern this weekend for another tournament, another duel, and it's just like back to back for those wrestling, and they got to cram a bunch into this January and then a little bit into February, and they're into the conference.
I know we talked
tournament,
about that last
and-
week. It just really comes like
Yeah.
out of nowhere, and there's lots and lots and lots, and then it is done all of a sudden.
We're believing for really good
Yeah.
things for the wrestling team, and
Yeah.
looking forward to maybe getting them on a couple more times, hopefully.
Yeah, and the Heritage Foundation has a pretty big event coming up. It's our Bike-a-thon, our Sweating for Scholarships event. It's taking place March 2nd
Yep.
at the West River Community Center. And you can find more information about how to register a team, about what the event is, things like that by visiting the DSU Heritage Foundation website or giving us a call, emailing us. But registrations for that are due February 23rd,
Yep.
I believe, and it's an 80s theme.
Yeah, 80s movies.
And it was so cool
Yeah.
last year
Yeah.
to see the way people dressed up. So I'm excited to see.
There is awards for
that this
best
year.
dressed team, I believe. There's awards for longest distance as a team, longest distance individually, male and female. So we're really trying to get a lot of community members, a lot of DSU members involved to raise money for a club, an organization, a sport, or maybe even a department too. Like department chairs can run. So you just need a 6-person team, and basically you can raise money for scholarships, and that will be matched 2 to 1. Or you can raise money for unrestricted dollars, whether you're, for example, the Carnegie trip that you guys are taking, we're raising money for that. The band or the choir is music department.
Yeah,
would say
I
is
just
pro-
think
is
the
probably,
department is going to do something.
and the
there.
art department is also raising money
for their Italy trip.
So, I mean, right there you can see that it's just a way to raise money for your department or your group, like we talked about. And I mean,
It's a lot of fun.
What a way to do it! Yeah.
Yeah.
Get some exercise.
Gosh, yeah.
You know,
It really is. Just last year's event was so much
Yeah.
fun.
and we're doing it bigger.
Everyone
this
has a
year.
lot
It's
of
gonna be
fun
awesome.
at the event.
80s
Plus,
movies
it's great.
themes. You need to remember that. If you remember
Yeah.
anything, that's what you.
You take anything from the show, it's 80s movie theme, and also Scott Jim is rocking.
Scott Jim is
That's
rocking,
it.
that's
I
right.
guess that's 2
We'll keep
things.
saying
but
that over and over
Yeah.
because it's going to keep rocking, I imagine, whether that's basketball
Yeah.
season or maybe even volleyball
Volleyball.
next year, basketball again. We're just, it'll keep going.
Yeah,
It always does.
always rocking.
That's DSU for you. And, you know, next week
Yeah.
we're going to be back with some more athletes, hopefully maybe some community members just talking about life, talking about all things DSU. But until then, Hawks are up.